Well, by the time Galileo was sentenced to his imprisonment in his own home and his death in 1642, the word had got out. And everybody was talking about the possibility that the Earth was not the center of the universe, that perhaps the sun was. There was a nobleman at the time by the name of Tycho Brahe, and he was perhaps in possession of the greatest star charts in all of Europe. He had, whether himself or assistants, servants, charted the motions of the constellations and the motions of the planets through the constellations, and he had very, very accurate charting. But he didn't have yet an explanation for this wandering nature of the 5 planets. And so decided to hire Europe's greatest mathematician. At the time, his name was Johannes Kepler. Now, Kepler was a straight shooter. He was a diligent man, very intelligent, not much of one for tomfoolery. Kepler wanted to get to business. Tycho, worried that maybe Kepler would garner more attention, would only hand over a few charts at a time and say, see if you can figure it out, the motions of the heavens, and I'll pay you very handsomely. But he couldn't do it with the minimal information that he was receiving from Tycho. Well, he did, though, come up with some theories. One of them was that perhaps the planets fit into these geometric shapes, and perhaps the planets' orbits were inscribed interior and exterior to the vertices of these shapes. But the problem was it didn't fit perfectly. It still didn't predict the position of the planets the way he wanted it to. But he was convinced, Kepler was, that this geometric design was the answer to the heavens, that God had created the solar system to follow a mathematical plan. It didn't work, though. Now, in the meantime, Tycho, a bit of a carouser and a partier, decided, well, actually on many occasions, to hold lavish parties, drinking, food, entertainment. The story is that Tycho, not wanting to get up from the table to relieve himself, fearing that he would miss out on the frivolities of the party, decided to just continuously pee his pants. Well, guess what happened? He got an infection. And there's no penicillin at the time. And he died. He died. It was the happiest day for Kepler, because once Tycho was out of the way, he got his hands on all the rest of the information. Now Tycho being out of the way, Kepler could get to work. And to work he did. And it wasn't long before he abandoned his geometric design, because that forced the orbits to continually perpetuate the notion that they were perfectly circular. Kepler thought, well, wait, what if they're not perfect circles? What if they're slightly elongated ellipses instead? With the sun not sitting dead center, but slightly off center. That would mean that the planets would move at a faster rate closer to the sun and a slower rate when it's farther from the sun. And this change in motion would account for the positions of the planets and make their positioning much more predictable. So he came up eventually with what became known as Kepler's 3 laws. The first law is orbits are elliptical. They're not circles. They'd been circles since the days of Pythagoras 2,000 years prior. Finally, they broke free from that. Orbits were elliptical. The second thing was the motion of the planets is not uniform. In fact, it moves faster closer to the sun and slower further from the sun. So motion was not uniform. And then the third law was a beautiful law that incorporated some math. And he said that the orbital period squared will always be proportional to the average radius of the orbit cubed. P squared equals R cubed. And these 3 laws really saved Kepler's career, Because if he had continued to chase this geometric design with the circular orbits, he never would have figured it out. He would have gone down in history as one of the worst scientists of them all, barking up the wrong tree, so convinced that it was right, but not able to make it work. Okay? But Kepler was able to get past that. And he came up with these three laws, and it completely changed the future of our understanding of the solar system and paved the way for the next great scientist, Isaac Newton.